Opening my eyes, I saw my own funeral hall, with wailing all around. The moment I sat up from the coffin, the wailing auntie fainted from shock. The whole village thought old Chu's family line had ended, and the demolition compensation almost went to distant relatives. But they never expected that not only did I come back to life, but I also brought a system that could refresh treasure chests. From today on, this sea is mine to command. I heard noise outside, and the sound of wailing. Holding a stick of incense, woo-woo, smoke rises to the heavens. Ah, brother has passed away. Your sister kneels on the ground, crying. Annoying. I hate being disturbed from my dreams. I sat up abruptly, scanning the surroundings. In the funeral hall sat several familiar-looking men and women. In the center, a short, plump woman in a white cap stared at me in terror. Beside her, a little girl in mourning clothes knelt on a cushion, her bright eyes fixed on me, calling out crisply, "Brother." I was amused, being called brother at over 30. Just as I responded with a hey, the woman in the white cap screamed, "Oh my God, a corpse has risen." Then her jaw clamped shut, and with a gurgle, she fainted. Am I that scary? I'm a dashing, good young man of socialism. But the funeral hall was in chaos, clearly not a prank. Oh heavens, old Chu's corpse has risen. Oh my God, oh my God. Mazu, protect me, don't let this ghost come for me. I suddenly had a bad feeling. Climbing out of the rectangular wooden box, I found a mirror covered with red cloth in the bedroom. Lifting it, I saw my reflection, and a thunderbolt struck my head. Damn it. Detected abnormal emotional value in host, system activating. I collapsed into the lounge chair in the main room, letting passers-by outside the yard point and stare, looking utterly hopeless. This shouldn't be. As one of the first demolition-rich second generation in Shenzhen, my life, Chu Yang, had been smooth sailing. My parents were alive. I was rich and had many assets, neither cuckolded nor oppressed by my mother-in-law. The only thing fitting the transmigrator persona was being 185 centimeters tall and 18.5 centimeters. Damn, this can happen too. According to this body's memories, it's 2007, and I live in Nutu, Zhuiri Island, Quanqing. The original owner was also named Chu Yang. His parents went to sea a few years ago and never returned, leaving him and his younger sister Chu Shi, who hadn't started school. With the insurance money, he finished college and found a job as a corporate slave in the city. He thought he'd live a plain life, but a demolition call changed everything. Shaolu, the town has introduced a seafood processing factory, and they've taken a liking to your land. Come back and sign the demolition contract. The original owner hurried back to sign the agreement. But before the demolition money arrived, he fell into the sea while getting up at night, turning into a ghost. After that, it's the plot of my soul transmigrating, the coffin dancing, and the funeral hall rave. Thinking about it, fate has been kind to me. 2 generations of demolition households. Just as I was feeling melancholy, a flash of blood-red light nearly blinded me. Note, today's first refresh has been updated. Please draw your treasure chest in time. This is my transmigration perk, a no-frills system with no manual, purely trial and error. The current function is that I can refresh and draw 1 treasure chest daily. Let's draw. Since I'm here, I might as well make the best of it, not letting down heaven's kindness. Congratulations. You've drawn an iron chest. The chest location has been refreshed. Please go claim it. A map appeared on the screen, like a misleading navigation. Damn, I have to walk there myself? Just as I was hesitating whether to brave the scorching sun, a skinny girl with a ponytail poked her head in from the door. Brother, she called timidly, her hands behind her back. Chu Shi. I straightened up, looking at this skinny little girl with mixed emotions. As an only child in my previous life, I always envied others for having siblings. Unexpectedly, by a twist of fate, my dream has come true. Bro, are you hungry? I brought you some food. In her hands behind her back, she held 3 buns in a small white plastic bag. Oh, thanks. I took the buns from the girl. Bro, you eat first. I'm going to Uncle's house. I then remembered that after their parents passed, the original owner went to study and work in the city. And poor Chu, she was taken in by their uncle Hidongnan, staying there for years. The siblings only spent a few days together during New Year. Okay, then go ahead. As the girl reached the door, I added, be careful on the way, little sister. Chu, she stopped, turned around, and gave me a sweet smile. Got it, brother. Perhaps due to blood ties, after she came, my mood improved significantly. I quickly devoured the 3 cabbage and lard bun, letting out a burp. Full in content, time to work. The fact of rebirth can't be changed, so I'll take my little sister and live well in this new world. First, let's see how many coins the system can produce. I put on a sweatshirt, donned a bamboo hat, and pushed open the yard gate. Outside, the sun was bright, and the scenery was just right. Turn left ahead, 1.5 kilometers to the treasure chest refresh point. With the sun blazing at 35 degrees, the fishing village path paved with broken shells was especially hot on the feet. So hot. After just half a mile, I was sweating all over. I regretted not coming out at night. But the sweat can't be in vain. Nututu village is small, with 100 households and 1,000 or so people, and everyone knows me. But no one came to greet me. The corpse rising from the funeral hall is quite shocking in a small fishing village. I enjoyed the peace and continued forward, crossing the village to the beach on the north side of the island. It's a tidal flat, mostly black-brown mud. But for fishermen, it's more useful than the southern beach, as you can go clam digging. Finally arrived. At the junction of the tidal flat's north corner and the mangrove forest, I saw a silver-white glow. That should be the treasure chest. To confirm if only I could see it, I called out to a middle-aged auntie who was bending over digging for snails. Auntie Zhang. Oh, it's old Chu's kid. What are you doing here? I made small talk, then suddenly pointed at the treasure chest. Wow. Auntie Zhang, look at that shiny thing over there. Auntie Zhang looked. Nothing there, just a mud flat. You must be seeing things. Confirming she wasn't faking it, I walked away. Hey, wait, Chu Yang. Xiao Yang, you don't have a girlfriend, right? Annie happens to have a niece who's also single. She was sharp. Even though my parents are gone and I have a little sister, I'm still a college graduate, and with the demolition coming, I'll buy a house in the city with the compensation, becoming a proper city person. In those days, a city hookup was still quite valuable. Anyway, Auntie Zhang, my dog is about to give birth, I gotta go. No need to see me off. Your rice jar is so empty, even cockroaches would starve. What dog? Hey, shaking off Auntie Zhang, I arrived at the treasure chest refresh point. I reached into the glow, felt a cold touch, and a black chest phantom burst open with a bang. Iron chest opened. Reward, random refresh of marine economic organisms, common, *5. Capture time limit, 60 minutes. I understand marine economic organisms. And common in parentheses is easy to understand. It's the capture time limit that annoys me. Will they disappear if I don't eat them? I didn't bring any tools. I'm so frustrated. Cursing inwardly, I didn't dare waste time and immediately started searching. In a few minutes, I turned up plenty of mud, tree roots, small snail shells, and hermit crabs, but no rare creatures. Just as I was about to curse the system, I noticed a faint white glow inside a muddy hole under my left foot. Could it be in there? The oval mud hole was fist-sized, and I hesitated. With such a big hole, who knows what big shot lives inside? What if a tattooed spicy strip gives me a bite? Looking around, I broke off a red branch to test. I leaned back, ready to spring away at any moment. The mud hole was deep. Slowly going in, I finally reached the bottom. Hey, the strange sensation at the tip of the stick instantly got me excited. It felt like a shell. I pushed hard twice. Damn, a strong force came from my hand, as if something inside was yanking the branch. I almost let go, but instinctively grabbed with both hands and yanked it out. Something flew out with it and slammed onto the ground. It was a large crab with a serrated green back, white belly, and yellow claws. Lying on its back. A big green crab. That's good stuff. Green crab meat is tender and delicious, especially the crab paste. It's absolutely divine. In my past life, I had eaten many blue crabs, but they were all between 3 tails and half a caddy. The one in front of me had a shell bigger than my face, and its claws were like a baby's arms. It weighed at least 1.5 caddies, truly a rare find. Still trying to run? The big blue crab flipped over and scurried toward its burrow on 8 legs. I was faster, stepping on its shell and grabbing it by the top with both hands. Looking at the menacing big blue crab, I was thrilled. I had caught it with my own hands. A crab this big would be something to brag about for years. I tore off a tough strip of mangrove bark. First I bound the big claws, then gathered all 8 long legs together, wrapping them horizontally and vertically, an Asian-style binding. I was quite satisfied with the result. Though it was far from professional rope art, it was my first time. But I believed that as long as I kept at it, I would eventually become a master of rope art. With the first experience under my belt, I quickly found a second crab burrow. The burrow was well hidden, its narrow entrance covered with black, fluffy algae. Guided by the system's light orb, I soon pulled out another big blue crab weighing over a caddy. The count of marine economic organisms in the system changed to *3, and nearly half the capture time had passed. I had to hurry. I took off my shirt, wrapped the 2 crabs in it, and tied it around my waist with the sleeves, freeing my hands. 5 minutes later, I found the third one cooling off under a reef. I attacked from behind, pinned its shell, and performed an increasingly practiced Asian-style binding. This one was even bigger than the first. Its dark blue-black shell was smooth, over 15 centimeters wide, and it weighed at least 2 catties. Even among farmed crabs, it would be considered a giant. As the sun climbed higher, the last 2 also fell to my clutches. But there was an accident with the last one. I tore the bark too thin, and it broke free while I was binding its big claws. The crab gave my raised middle finger a good pinch. Ouch! The pain shot through my heart, and I almost cried. When I finally pulled my hand out, there was a nasty 2-centimeter gash on the pad of my middle finger. Damn! Beachcombing is fun, but it has its risks. After tending to the wound a bit, I strolled home. At the village entrance, I ran into Aunt Zhang again. Chu Yang, think carefully about what I told you. My niece is really pretty. Aunt Zhang, don't bother. I'm fine on my own. In my past life, right after college, I was coaxed into marrying the only daughter of a listed company's CEO, stepping early into the grave of marriage. I wouldn't fall for that again in this life. Marriage? Aren't the girls in the live streams pretty enough, or the games fun enough? Aunt Zhang's gaze shifted and noticed the big bulge at my waist. What's that lump you've got tied around your waist? She reached out to poke at it. Caught off guard, mainly because I wasn't used to dealing with village women, she actually got her hands on it. Slap. A big one fell out. Aunt Zhang's eyes went wide. Oh my, that's huge. And there's more than one. Where did you get these? I shot her an annoyed look, stuffed the crab back, and hurried away. Why are you leaving? You college kids are so stingy. She called after me, showing no sign of shame. To her, what was shame? Could you eat it? But that kid, in no time he'd caught so many big blue crabs. He must have found a crab nest. I have to check it out. I got home, untied the 5 big crabs, and dumped them into the fish pond. Then I took a cool shower at the pump, drank my fill of water, and the heat subsided. I collapsed into the rattan lounge chair to rest. I had walked several kilometers in the midday sun and dug for crabs for an hour, nearly exhausting myself. For the first time, I experienced the hardships of fishermen. Blowing in the salty sea breeze and listening to the wind chimes, I unknowingly dozed off. When I opened my eyes again, it was sunset. Outside the courtyard wall, a huge orange fireball hung at the edge of the sky, reflected on the shimmering sea surface, like a layer of crushed gold, breathtakingly beautiful. This is probably the origin of the name Falling Sun Island. Taking a deep breath, I suddenly felt that this leisurely fishing life had its own charm. But beautiful as the scenery was, it couldn't fill my stomach. At mealtime, I was at a loss. I didn't know how to cook. Forget it, I'll go out and find something. I walked from one end of the village to the other, but didn't find a single restaurant. Well, Natudu was a small fishing village with no tourists. Who would patronize a restaurant here? The fishermen all cooked for themselves. A few acquaintances did invite me to eat with them, but they were just being polite. If I took them seriously, I'd be unwelcome. Passing a courtyard enclosed by a wooden fence, I suddenly stopped. This was Uncle Hidongnan's home. Why not drop in for a meal? Mother's brother is the most important. Having a meal at my biological uncle's house should be fine. But before I could act, I heard scolding from inside, accompanied by the sound of bowls and chopsticks hitting the floor. Eat, eat, eat. That's all you know. 3 meals a day can't fill you up, you little money loser. This braised pork is for my hang-hang. You little brat, how dare you use your chopsticks? You stole the leftover buns at noon too, didn't you? Not learning anything good at such a young age. And you've learned to steal just like your deadbeat father. Get out of here. You're not allowed in the house tonight. I saw a thin, frail figure stagger out of the main room. With tears in her eyes, hands twisting the hem of her clothes, she crouched under the eaves, like a wild grass swaying in the wind. My mind exploded. Chu Shi, brother. Chu Shi looked up, saw me standing at the door, and called out like a kitten. The tears she had been holding back could no longer be contained, spilling out like pearls. My nose tingled, and I rushed forward in 2 steps, picking up Chu Shi, who was crying like a little tabby cat. At that moment, the people in the main room heard the commotion and came out. Oh, isn't this our Lao Chu family's college student? What? No food again? The speaker was a rural old woman in her early 50s, with dark, wrinkled skin and a short, plump figure. A gold necklace around her greasy neck. Her name was Lu Tsuaxian, and by rights I should call her aunt. The moment I saw her face, dead memories began to attack me. According to my predecessor's memories, this aunt was absolutely extreme. When my parents were alive, she would bring her whole family over to freeload every few days. Once, on my birthday, my parents prepared a table of good food and even killed a free-range chicken. Before the cake was even served, Aunt led Uncle and his family over. That night, I only got the chicken wings and head. Aunt said, euphemistically, that eating wings lets you soar high, and eating the head makes you the top scorer. As for the big chicken legs, my 2 chubby cousins said they were delicious. Later, After my mom made a few sarcastic remarks, the two families had a big fight and gradually drifted apart. But unexpectedly, as soon as my parents had an accident, Lu Tsuetian came back, even offering to raise us siblings. Of course, it wasn't out of conscience, but because the insurance had paid out a large sum. As a condition for raising us, she had to keep that money. As for whether it was actually used for our upbringing, who knows? Anyway, her two chubby sons got even rounder. And my living expenses after college were earned by my predecessor through summer jobs. Standing next to Lu Tsuetian was a tall, thin man with a hunched back, about 1.7 meters tall. This was my biological uncle, He Dongnan. He had been injured at sea in his early years, leaving him with a slight limp. He was timid and had no say at home. On Lu Tsuetian's right was a little brat, He Yuan Hang, who was 140 centimeters tall and weighed 140 jin. The second of the chubby duo. Are you mute or what? When an elder speaks to you, this is how you react. Seeing me ignore her and hug my sister, Lu Tsuetian immediately got angry and started firing sarcastically, but I just smiled. Faced with such awful relatives, my previous self wouldn't dare offend them due to his timid nature. But what kind of person am I? A rich second-generation playboy. How could I take this lying down? Oh, Auntie, look at me. My stomach is so empty that my reactions are slow. You asked the right question just now. I really haven't eaten, so I came to your place to see what's good to eat. As I spoke, I had already walked into the main room holding Chu Shi. On the table were a few plates, stir-fried cabbage, peanuts, seaweed soup, and braised pork. Not bad food. I unceremoniously picked up a piece of braised pork and put it in my mouth. It tastes good too. I have to say, although Lu Tsuetian is ugly and mean, her cooking skills are really decent. Chu Shi, come, you try Annie's cooking too. You're so skinny, you should eat more meat. I picked a big piece of pork belly and stuffed it into Chu Shi's mouth. Is it good? It's good, brother. Chu Shi whispered a reply, then glanced at Lu Tsuetian, whose face had turned black with anger, and quickly shrank into my arms. Rebellion, rebellion, this is truly rebellion. Reacting, Lu Tsuetian's plump chest heaved violently, like an inflated tiger tank. Who allowed you to eat my braised pork? Put it down. The tank rumbled toward me. I was prepared. Holding Chu Shi with one hand and the braised pork with the other, I leaped back, landing smoothly with a slick combo. If any foreign martial arts enthusiasts saw this, they would definitely applaud and shout, Kung Fu Nyobi. In contrast, Lu Tsuetian, with too much torque and not enough braking, crashed headfirst into the wooden wall. Thud. Aunt Zhang next door was having dinner when suddenly a loud bang. Dust fell from the ceiling cracks, scaring her into shouting, "Oh my God, earthquake," and running out of the hall. Coming to her senses and looking closely, it turned out to be Lu Tsuetian practicing Iron Mountain Lean, so she angrily cursed, "Dead bitch, Sa Lin Mu." Lu Tsuetian, not one to take a loss, immediately retorted, "You big fool. Wearing pants that don't fit, eating rice with dog shit." After cursing to no end, they started fighting. One pulled hair, the other tugged at belts. Even bras flew several meters. I quickly took advantage of the chaos and slipped away with Chu Shi in my arms. But He Yuan Hang, seeing me leaving with the braised pork, grabbed my pant leg and angrily shouted, "Braised pork, you bastard, give me back my braised pork." I slapped him and kicked him to the ground. "So young and so ill-mannered, I'll teach you on behalf of your father. This little brat is no good," relying on Lu Tsuetian's support. He often bullied Chu Shi. "Chu Yang, that's your younger brother." Seeing his son beaten, He Dongnan, who had been silent, also got anxious. "Brother?" I sneered. "I only have a sister, no brother." With that, I turned and left. At the door, I glanced back at He Dongnan. "Uncle, don't blame me for being heartless. Think about how your family has treated us siblings over the years. Think about what you said back then and what you did. Are you worthy of my deceased parents and the 300,000 you took from our family?" He Dongnan stiffened, his face turning red and pale. His mouth moved, but no words came out, so he could only watch me leave. As for He Yuan Hang, seeing me walk away, he lay on the ground rolling and crying. "Braised pork, I want braised pork." "Well, useless waste, you didn't help me get the braised pork, I don't want you as my dad anymore." He Dongnan's eyes twitched in anger, and he slapped him again and again, as if to vent all the frustration of these years. "I'll give you braised pork. I'll teach you to be disrespectful. I'll teach you to talk nonsense." Back home, Chu Yang still had a gloomy face, not yet calmed down. To think there are such uncles in the world, truly pitiful, hateful, and pathetic. "Brother, don't be angry, I won't eat braised pork anymore." Chu Shi tugged at his clothes and said softly, thinking that her greediness had made Chu Yang angry. "No, it's not your fault. Chu Yang replied casually. Then, realizing his tone was a bit harsh, he crouched down, patted Chu Shi's head, and smiled. Brother isn't angry at you, but forget it. From now on, you'll live at home. After today's commotion, Chu Yang couldn't let Chu Shi go back to He Dongnan's house to live under someone else's roof. Or else that tank mother and son might abuse her even more. Really, brother, you're not leaving? Hearing Chu Yang's words, Chu Shi's eyes lit up. Though she was young, children from poor families mature early and understand many things. Chu Yang was her real brother, and this was her home. Being able to live in her own home naturally made her happy. I'm not leaving for now. Chu Yang smiled and started preparing dinner. But after fussing around for a while, he couldn't even get the fire started. Brother, let me do it. Chu Shi saw that her brother was useless at this and took the initiative to help. She lit dry leaves with a match, then gradually added small twigs, and finally larger firewood. After starting the fire, she cleaned the stove and, standing on tiptoes, poured water into the iron pot that wasn't much shorter than her. Watching Chu Shi busily working with such skill, Chu Yang felt even more distressed. In his impression, girls her age were the treasures of their parents, afraid they'd get tired even carrying a school bag, let alone doing such rough work. Okay, brother, once the water boils, steam the meat on top and it's ready to eat. Okay. Seeing he couldn't help much, Chu Yang went out to the yard and scooped out the second largest green crab from the fish pond. After scrubbing it clean with a loofah, he brought it into the kitchen. Steam this too. Wow, such a big green crab, Chu Shi exclaimed. As a girl who grew up by the sea, she had much more experience foraging than Chu Yang and knew how rare a crab of this size was. Just one like this could sell for at least 200 to 300 at the town restaurant. Brother, this is expensive. Swallowing her saliva, Chu Shi still spoke up. Chu Yang smiled and patted her little head. It's fine, steam it. This is what I caught today. There are several more in the pond. Brother, you're amazing. Only then did Chu Shi nod firmly, place the tied-up big green crab belly up on a plate, and set it in the pot to steam. Having not eaten all afternoon, Chu Yang was starving, and he fiercely added firewood to the stove, making the fire blaze. Soon, steam filled the pot. Okay, brother, it's ready to eat. Chu Shi lifted the lid and said, Great. Chu Yang threw down the fire tongs and hurried to get the plates. A plate of red braised pork and a big orange-green crab. Since it was just the two siblings, Chu Yang was too lazy to use the table and placed them directly on the stove. He picked up a piece of braised pork and a bit of crab roe, which was rich and fresh, so satisfying. You eat too, Chu Yang urged. Okay, brother. Chu Shi smiled sweetly and dug into the crab legs. Is it good? It's good, brother. From now on, brother will catch crabs for you every day, okay? Brother is so nice. After dinner, Chu Shi started cleaning up the dishes, while Chu Yang lay under the eaves to cool off. It wasn't that he was lazy. Well, he was lazy, but it was just 2 plates, and Chu Shi could handle it. After sitting for less than 2 minutes, Chu Yang suddenly saw 2 flashes of light outside the yard, followed by the sound of wind chimes. Who is it? It's me, your great-grandpa. An old man in his 60s or 70s, wearing a blue Dacron shirt, pushed the door open and came in. Behind him followed a middle-aged man with glasses, holding a flashlight in one hand and a briefcase under his arm. Chu Yang recognized them. The old man was He Baohua, who had been the village party secretary in Nitudu for decades, and the man with glasses was the village accountant, Xiong de Kuei. Technically, He Baohua had some kinship with Chu Yang's mother's side, so he called himself Chu Yang's great-grandpa, which wasn't entirely wrong. But Chu Yang didn't play along. According to his memory, He Baohua had never been close to their family. Suddenly bringing up kinship must mean something else. Secretary and accountant Xiong, what brings you here this late? Chu Yang asked directly. Xiong de Kuei pushed up his glasses and said with a smile, Well, Chu Yang, you signed the demolition agreement yesterday, right? The secretary and I came to ask when you can move out of the house, so the village can pay you. Chu Yang then remembered that his predecessor had come home to sign the demolition agreement. But that was his predecessor, who wanted to use the demolition money to buy a house and become a city person. Now that it was him, things were different. Oh, that matter, I'm still thinking about it. Hearing this, He Baohua frowned slightly. Child, you've already signed the agreement. What's there to hesitate about? Would your great-grandpa harm you? Chu Yang remained unmoved. This is a big matter. I need to discuss it with my sister. She has a share in this house too. She's just a girl. What's there to discuss with her? He Baohua said disdainfully. Besides, you've already signed. In the current rural areas, the preference for boys over girls is still very serious. In most families, whether it's demolition compensation or land distribution, it's the boys who get the share. girls? Even if they have caring parents, at most they'll get some money to pacify them. Chu Yang naturally disagreed with Hibao's words, but he took note of the urgency Hibao showed. Normally, in demolition matters, it's the investors who are anxious. What does it have to do with the village? Unless, combined with the fact that his predecessor signed the agreement and accidentally fell into the sea the same day, Chu Yang suddenly felt that things might not be so simple. I didn't say I wouldn't move, but I had an accident, and my head is still muddled. I've forgotten what agreement I signed, so how can I move? Chu Yang spread his hands. What kind of memory is that? Did falling into the water damage your brain? Hibao said discontentedly, thinking Chu Yang was deliberately making excuses. Chu Yang shrugged, clearly not buying it. Why don't you show me the agreement again so I can recall it properly? This. Xiong Dakue glanced at Hibao, who, seeing that Chu Yang was neither soft nor hard, could only nod. All right then. Xiong Dakue opened his briefcase and took out an agreement. Chu Yang took it and read it carefully under the dim light. As a former second-generation demolition beneficiary, he was familiar with demolition agreements and quickly spotted several issues. First, the eaves area of the house was not included in the main building area. Second, the yard was paved, but the agreement calculated the demolition compensation at the price for vacant land. Most importantly, the agreement was signed with the village committee and stamped with the village committee's seal. In other words, the village expropriated Chu Yang's house and then negotiated with the investor. Chu Yang put down the agreement, stared at the two, and slowly said, "Secretary, Accountant Xiong, this isn't right. Since when can the village committee expropriate land on its own? I remember that expropriating homestead land requires approval from the local people's government, but there's no stamp from the township government on the agreement. Without the township government's seal, the agreement is invalid." This. Pressed by Chu Yang's questions, Xiong Dakue stammered for a long time without saying anything coherent. Of course, mainly because he knew he was in the wrong. And Chu Yang was the first proper college student in the village, having seen the world in the city, so the usual intimidation tactics used on villagers had no effect on him. But Hibao would directly put on a stern face, acting as both village party secretary and elder. Invalid. How can it be invalid? It has your signature and the village committee's seal. If anyone says it's invalid, tell them to come to me. I'll deal with them. Besides, I'm your great uncle. How could I harm you? All right, stop thinking about other things. You've signed. So move out as soon as possible, and the demolition compensation will be paid to you later. After saying that, he stared at Chu Yang intently. Heh. Chu Yang sneered contemptuously. What nonsense. A village party secretary of a tiny village was putting on airs in front of him. It was laughable. In his previous life, among the second-generation rich kids he hung out with, many had parents who were high-ranking provincial officials, and he addressed them as uncles and aunts. What did you say? How dare you talk to me like that? Hearing Chu Yang's words, Hibao was first stunned, unable to believe he had been insulted, and then was overwhelmed by fury. Oh dear. Chu Yang, how can you talk to the secretary like that? After all, he's your great-uncle. Xiong Dakue tried to mediate. Cut the crap, get lost. I'm not demolishing the house. Chu Yang calculated that his house with the yard, covering at least 400 to 500 square meters, plus various auxiliary structures, was only valued at around 200,000 yuan in the agreement, less than 500 yuan per square meter. Although it was 2007, housing prices in Quancheng had already exceeded 8,000 yuan per square meter, and even in the suburbs it was 4,000 to 5,000, and in rural areas at least 1,000, let alone for demolition. Where did the missing part go? Chu Yang looked at his great-uncle with increasing disdain. Fine, you've grown up and got wings, haven't you? Hibao glared at Chu Yang hatefully and pointed at him fiercely. You'll regret this. Get lost. If it weren't for your age, I'd break your finger. Chu Yang was unfazed by his threats and waved his hand as if shooing a fly. Hibao was so angry he nearly had a heart attack. After he left cursing, Chu Yang closed the door, bolted it, and continued to enjoy the cool in the yard. At that moment, Chu Shi came out of the kitchen and crouched beside the recliner. Brother, are we not demolishing our house? She had been hiding inside but had heard everything. No, we're not. Mom and Dad worked hard to build this house. It would be a pity to demolish it. Chu Yang pulled Chu Shi over, sat her on his lap, and pinched her cheek with a smile. But, great-uncle is very powerful. Chu Shi said worriedly. I'm even more powerful, do you believe that? I believe it. Brother, you're the most powerful. Chu Shi said seriously, word by word. Haha. Come on, let me show you the big blue crab I caught today. Wow, what a big blue crab. Brother, you're the best. That night, at 9 o'clock, Chu Shi had already bathed and gone to bed. But Chu Yang wasn't used to sleeping early. He lay in bed playing Snake on his phone. His phone was the famous king of phones of that era, the Nokia N95. As Nokia's new flagship, the N95 featured a dual slider design, making it easy to switch between entertainment and calls, and it had rich multimedia features, including music, video, and games. Such a phone was naturally expensive, selling for 6,288 yuan when it was launched earlier that year. Of course, Chu Yang's only cost 628 yuan because he bought it in Huiqiang Bai, a knockoff king. After biting his own tail again, Chu Yang tossed the phone aside and lay in bed thinking about his life in this world. The demolition plan was now off, and he couldn't do the coding job in the city either, mainly because he didn't understand computers. Having memories but no practical experience was useless. Fortunately, he had a cheat. The system was quite reliable. With the treasure chests, he could live well in this world. So what he needed to do next was to establish a solid foundation. In one word, make money. In 2007, how to make money. Buy a courtyard house in the capital? Ride the crazy stock market that was experiencing the biggest bull market in history? Or get in early on Bitcoin? No kidding. With his meager capital, what could he do? He had to get back to reality. Fishing. With the system, the boundless sea was an inexhaustible treasure trove for him. He, Chu Yang, was destined to become the king of the seven seas. That night, Chu Yang dreamed that he truly became the king of the sea. Under his command were countless mermaids, clam spirits, abalone spirits. Hey brother, wake up. The house is leaking. Chu Yang was just having a deep and meaningful exchange with the abalone spirit when he was startled awake by a chill. He opened his eyes and saw that the seaweed-thatched roof had rainwater seeping through the gaps, dripping onto his pants. No wonder the dream was so wet. What did you say, brother? Chu Shi asked suspiciously. Oh, nothing. I said the bed is so wet. It seems we need to fix the roof. Chu Yang rubbed his nose. Chu Shi nodded seriously. He got up and changed into dry clothes. In the main room, Chu Yang saw 2 bowls of porridge, one big and one small, and a small dish of pickled vegetables on the octagonal table. Where did this come from? He asked. I borrowed the rice from Uncle's son next door, and Aunt's son gave us the pickles. Chu Shi replied. Chu Yang nodded and didn't ask more. Sit down and eat. The rice porridge was smooth and thick, and with the crisp pickles, he finished a large bowl in a few mouthfuls. After breakfast, Chu Yang looked outside. It was still raining, but not heavily. Occasionally, he saw villagers wearing straw rain capes and carrying nets, rakes, and shovels, heading to the beach. Today is the first day of the lunar month, a big spring tide, so everyone in the village is going to the beach to gather seafood. Chu Shi explained. Chu Yang's eyes lit up. A big spring tide? Does that mean good stuff will respawn? He eagerly opened the system, and sure enough, the treasure chest had refreshed. Draw today's treasure chest. Congratulations on winning the silver treasure chest. The treasure chest location has been refreshed. Please go claim it. Looking at the treasure chest refresh point, it's not far from yesterday's, still by the seaside. Indeed. Chu Yang got excited. Silver represents nobility and unyieldingness. It sounds much more impressive than the stubborn black iron. Just like Chu Yang, who in his previous life was a proud, unyielding silver. Suppressing his excitement, Chu Yang pulled Chu Shi. Let's go, little sister. Let's also go beachcombing. Okay, big brother. I'll go get the gear. Hurry up, big brother. Don't rush, I'm coming. On the village path, 2 figures in straw rain capes appeared, one tall and one short. This time, Chu Yang was experienced and had changed into shorts and a vest at home, with a straw rain cape over them. This way, it wasn't stuffy, and he didn't get rained on. As for beachcombing tools, he brought plenty. A scoop net, iron tongs, a 5-pronged rake, a shovel, a urea bag, and a bundle of rubber bands. Scoop net for fish, iron tongs for crabs, 5-pronged rake and shovel for shellfish, urea bag for the catch. This way, no matter what the system refreshed, he could handle it. As they neared the seaside, an elderly couple with dark skin walked ahead of the siblings, also carrying buckets and hurrying toward the beach. From over a dozen meters away, Chu Shi shouted, Grandpa's son, Grandma's son. So this elderly couple was Chu Yang's neighbors. The rice Chu Shi used for the porridge that morning was borrowed from their house. Is that Xiao Shi? Grandma's son heard Chu Shi's voice and slowed down. Are you also going beachcombing? My big brother is taking me. Chu Shi's eyes narrowed into little crescent moons, with shallow dimples on her face, and she replied proudly, all right, then let's go together. Grandma's son glanced at Chu Yang, then smiled and patted Chu Shi's head. Chu Yang took out a pack of soft red from his pocket and offered one to Grandpa Sunday. Oh, this is good tobacco. Grandpa's son grinned, showing yellowed teeth, clearly a heavy smoker. But he was just a fisherman, and with his age, he couldn't earn much money, so he usually smoked cheap tobacco leaves that cost over 10 yuan a pound. As for this pack of 14 yuan 7 Wolves Soft Red, he could hardly get a smoke of it, even once a year. Actually, Chu Yang usually smoked 5 yuan Gutian cigarettes, but for this trip home, he gritted his teeth and bought a carton of Soft Red. The two smoked and chatted along the way. Yang, how did you fall out with the village secretary? Grandpa's son asked. Last night, Chu Yang told he Bao would get lost, and he heard it clearly from his own yard. Nothing much, just about the demolition. Chu Yang flicked his cigarette and replied. Just my house, including the yard, covers over 400 to 500 square meters, plus the fish pond, trees, stone tables and chairs, and other attachments. Yet they only offered about 200,000 yuan and urged me to move. They really think I've never seen money. He said angrily. That's bullying. Grandpa's son hadn't spoken yet, but Grandma's son already expressed her opinion, defending him. This was exactly the effect Chu Yang wanted. He believed that with what he said, by tomorrow night, the news that he Bao wanted to forcibly demolish his house at a low price would spread throughout the village. Never doubt the speed of gossip in rural areas, and such gossip is accompanied by information distortion. Often, something lost in the east becomes someone's mother dying when it reaches the west. The demolition was already a hot topic in the village, and with Chu Yang and his sister being orphans and vulnerable, even if he Bao wanted to play dirty tricks behind the scenes, he would have to consider public opinion. As they talked, they arrived at the north shore of the island. Chu Yang looked out and saw yellow-white seawater crashing wave after wave onto the shore. But each wave's waterline receded a bit more than the previous one. When the waves receded, the fish, shrimp, and crabs that were brought up would be stranded on the mudflats. Some villagers held scoop nets and chased the waves, specifically scooping up the stranded tide fish. Others used rakes to plow the tidal flats, searching for shellfish and crabs hidden in the sand and mud. Yang, we'll head over there first. Grandpa's son already had his scoop net in hand. Clearly his main target today was fish. Generally, sea fish are more valuable. Catching a slightly larger one can sell for dozens to 100 yuan. As for shellfish, unless you find a more valuable species, like jade snails, cat-eye snails, or swimming crabs, but even then, the quantity is limited. More common ones like white snails, pointed snails, and hairy crabs only fetch 1 or 2 yuan at the dock, at most earning a hard-earned wage. Yang, Xiaoxi, why don't you come with me to pick some snails? I know a mudflat with plenty of spicy snails. Grandma's son kindly invited them. She was afraid the siblings had no beachcombing experience and wanted to guide them. You know, spicy snails aren't cheap. The aquatic product merchants at the dock buy them for 5 or 6 yuan. Such a mudflat that often yields good catches is not usually shared with others. But this kindness, Chu Yang could only politely decline. The treasure chest refresh point was not in the direction of the mudflat Grandma's son mentioned. No need. Grandma's son, you go ahead. There are too many people here. I'll take Chushi to check other places. All right then, you two be careful. Just pick along the beach, don't go far. Grandma's son reminded them and hurried off to work. When she was far away, Chushi looked up and asked, Big brother, why didn't we go pick spicy snails with Grandma's son? Chu Yang patted her head and said with a smile, Big brother will take you to pick something better. They continued north, through the mangrove forest, and finally reached their destination. This was a reef flat, usually submerged, only exposed when the tide receded during spring tides, revealing jagged rocks. And the refresh point was on a half-person-tall reef. Familiar with the process, Chu Yang smoothly opened the treasure chest. Silver treasure chest opened. Reward, randomly refresh marine economic organisms. Rare, capture time limit, 120 minutes. This time, the quantity wasn't shown, but before Chu Yang's eyes, a light band appeared, shining on the reef flat. What does this mean? Is it the refresh range? He shook his head, casting aside unnecessary thoughts, and hurried to catch. Chu Yang began searching under the rocks in the light band area, but after a while, he still found no rare seafood. Besides some small mussels, clams, and oysters, there were only small fish, shrimp, and various seaweeds. It was Chu Shi who, with great effort, pried off a small piece of dark brown thing from a rock and exclaimed in surprise, Wow, why are there so many sea chicken feet here? Sea chicken feet? Chu Yang took it and examined it closely, discovering that the so-called sea chicken feet were actually a type of sea snail about 3 to 4 centimeters long, with a cylindrical shell in greenish-brown color. And at the top extended a cluster of stalked barnacles, shaped like animal claws. These small snails clustered together, growing in the crevices of the rocks. Usually, their stalks retracted, blending with the rocks, making them invisible. Wait, this isn't. When Chu Yang fully recognized the cluster of sea chicken feet in his hand, his heart began to beat faster involuntarily. Gooseneck barnacles. Gooseneck barnacles, sea chicken feet. Not reassured, he stared at them carefully for a while, and finally confirmed that this was the top-grade seafood he had eaten in his previous life. He was excited. Looking at the dense gooseneck barnacles in the rock crevices, Chu Yang had only one thought. We're rich. Let's dig these today, hurry up. Chu Yang couldn't wait to take out his short-handled shovel. This shovel was more slender than the iron shovels used on construction sites, similar to a Luoyang shovel, but flatter, specially used to pry oysters, abalones, and shellfish attached to rocks. Driven by money, Chu Yang had unlimited motivation. Following the rock crevices, one shovel would pry up a whole chunk of gooseneck barnacles. Chu Shi also took a pointed hoe and dug on the small reef, digging and digging. With the siblings working together, soon the large urea bag was half full. Chu Yang was exhausted. Gooseneck barnacles hide in rock crevices and attach very firmly, requiring full force to pry them off, and it was easy to accidentally break the shell and ruin the appearance. Looking back at Chu Shi, she was also sweating profusely, her slightly dry face flushed red, but she was still holding the pickaxe, concentrating on digging out snails. Licking his dry lips, Chu Yang called out to Chu Shi. Xiao Shi, stop digging. Go back and get another urea bag, and bring a pot of water along. Okay. Having received Chu Yang's instructions, Chu Shi found a flat rock to place the pickaxe on, then ran off as fast as a wild rabbit, disappearing in a flash. Chu Yang pounded his sore waist, thinking to himself that this system of his was really useless. Other protagonists had V-shaped abs and godlike stamina, often being humanoid mechas, unlike him who was so miserable and exhausted. But complaining was useless. He glanced at the time. A small portion had already passed. Keep digging. Whoosh, 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 one shovel after another of goose barnacles were plowed from the rocks onto the beach. By the time Chu Shi returned with the water pot, the 50-gene urea bag was already more than half full. Brother, drink some water and rest for a while. Let me dig for a bit. Okay, be careful, take it slow, and don't hurt your hands. Chu Yang was extremely tired and also very thirsty. So he took the military green water pot from Chu Shi and gulped down half of it, feeling alive again. After resting for 2 minutes, he looked at Chu Shi and thought he should continue working. He was no longer the demolition-rich kid with a 7-figure balance in his card. He had to earn money to support himself and his sister. Burying his head in work, soon the second urea bag was also more than half full, and the remaining capture time given by the system was only half an hour. At that moment, Chu Yang heard someone calling him. He looked up and saw it was Grandma's son. After a moment of hesitation, Chu Yang still waved to Grandma Sunday. Grandma's son, over here. Why did you come here? The waves are strong in the reef area. You need to keep an eye on your sister. Grandma's son muttered as she walked. But when she got closer and saw what they had in their hands, she fell silent. Sea chicken feet. These can sell for 30 to 50 yuan per gene at the dock. Never mind the waves. Even if the Dragon King got angry, she'd have to scrape some into her bag. Grandma's son, why are you standing there? Dig quickly, or the tide will come in and they'll be gone. Seeing Grandma's son still in a daze, Chu Yang smiled and invited her. Then, I won't stand on ceremony with you. Grandma's son rubbed her hands, feeling a bit embarrassed. There are also rules for beachcombing. Generally, if someone is already active in an area, others should stay away. Just like fishing. You can't just see fish in someone else's spot and silently go cast your line there. You might get beaten up. Of course, that doesn't apply to shameless people, and Grandma's son was clearly not one of them. Why say that? You've taken care of me and Xiaoxi before. The rice I ate this morning was borrowed from your family. Hurry up and dig. Chu Yang waved his hand and continued working. Grandma's son smiled and also started digging. Time passed quickly. Half an hour later, the originally dense goose barnacles disappeared within seconds. How strange, there were so many just now. Grandma's son muttered, obviously puzzled. Who can say? Maybe the weather changed and they hid in the cracks. Chu Yang casually explained. That's true. Grandma's son nodded, accepting Chu Yang's explanation. The sea is like this. In the same waters, the same mudflat. Good catches today, none tomorrow, it's all normal. Being able to encounter a good catch is already very lucky. Although a bit regretful, Grandma's son was very satisfied with today's harvest. She had dug for half an hour and had about a dozen gene including shells and seaweed. After cleaning, she could get about 10 gene, which would sell for at least a few hundred yuan at the dock. These days, regular workers in the city only earned an average monthly salary of about 1,500 to 1,600 yuan. But compared to the harvest of Chu Yang and his sister, hers was nothing. Whoa, it's heavy. Chu Yang tied the urea bag shut and lifted it, finding it surprisingly heavy. Goose barnacles are heavier than urea. A 50-gene urea bag filled with goose barnacles weighed at least 70 to 80 gene. Gritting his teeth and using all his strength, he finally managed to carry the 2 bags of goose barnacles home. When carrying the second bag, Grandpa's son even came to help switch shoulders, otherwise Chu Yang would have wanted to abandon it on the road. By the roadside, some villagers resting saw him carrying a big sack and asked curiously, "What's that? You got so much?" "Nothing much, just picked up some snails." Chu Yang casually replied. "What kind of snails need such a big bag? Could they be trash snails?" Another woman teased with a hint of jealousy. Trash snails are also a type of snail, but Chu Yang didn't know their scientific name. Anyway, the locals called them that. The reason was that these snails had little meat and big shells. A gene of snails yielded only half a liang of meat, and after boiling, the texture was like rubber, so seafood merchants were reluctant to buy them. Over time, fishermen discarded these snails like worn-out shoes. Chu Yang ignored them. He was already somewhat used to the rural mentality of resenting others' success and hoping for their failure. Seeing others make money was worse than losing money themselves. If they knew he had picked so many goose barnacles, several of them might die of anger that very night. He wondered if that counted as ridding the world of pests. Chu Yang thought to himself. Back in the courtyard, he poured the goose barnacles into the fish pond with seawater to soak, so they could last for 2 or 3 days. After tidying up, he went next door to Grandpa's son's house. Pushing open the door, he saw the old couple washing the seafood they had picked today, with goose barnacles being the largest portion. "Eyeing, you're here. Have a seat. I'll make you some tea." Grandma's son saw Chu Yang and was about to get up to brew tea, but he stopped her with a wave. "Grandma, no need for tea. I came to ask if you could help me find someone with a boat to rent for a day." "Why rent a boat? Are you going out to the island?" "Yes, I plan to sell the snails I picked today, and also buy some things in the city." Chu Yang didn't intend to hide it. "Sell snails? The doc buys them every day." Grandpa's son said. "Sell to them? They only give so little money." Chu Yang curled his lips. He had already asked around. A month ago, someone in the village also caught goose barnacles, and the seafood buyer's price was 35 yuan per gene. That was ridiculous. In 2007, seafood prices had already risen. Goose barnacles, not to mention the thousands or even 10,000 per gene like in later years, but definitely over 100. Can you really sell them for such a good price in the city? Grandpa's son was also tempted. After receiving Chu Yang's affirmative answer, he gritted his teeth. "All right, Qingjun has a boat. I'll talk to him and have him take you to the city. But," he rubbed his hands, "when you sell, can you also take the ones your grandma picked?" "No problem, leave it to me." At noon, Chu Shi was still the cook, making seafood braised rice. It was simple. Soak the rice, put it at the bottom of the pot, then lay the shrimp, spicy snails, and small octopus caught during beachcombing on top. Cover and simmer on high heat for about 10 minutes. Then take it out and drizzle with soy sauce. There weren't many fancy seasonings. It was all about the natural taste of the seafood. After lunch, while Chu Shi was washing the dishes, Grandpa's son came over with a dark, sturdy man. The man was Sun Qingjun, Grandpa's son's nephew from the same clan, also from the village. "Eyeing, my uncle said you want to rent my boat." "Yes, Uncle Qingjun, please take me to the city." Chu Yang opened a pack of soft red cigarettes and offered one to each of them. "Good cigarettes." Sun Qingjun's eyes lit up. He took the cigarette, put it under his nose, and took a deep breath. For men, sometimes the distance between a stranger and a friend is just one cigarette. This was especially evident in Sun Qingjun. "Where's the goods? My tricycle is parked outside. Let's go early and come back early," Sun Qingjun said with the cigarette in his mouth, urging to load the goods. Chu Yang smiled and said, "No rush, let's finish this cigarette first." After finishing one, Chu Yang offered another, then led Sun Qingjun to the fish pond and pointed at the 2 urea bags. "Here, these 2 bags of sea snails." Sun Qingjun took a look and his eyes widened in shock. "Damn, these are goose barnacles, so many. And these big blue crabs." He was so startled, he almost dropped his cigarette. "Did you pick all these up from the beach today?" "No, the snails were picked today, the crabs were caught yesterday," Chu Yang said, blowing out a smoke ring. "Awesome, truly awesome. No wonder you're the first college student in our village. In nearly 10 years, this is the first time I've seen someone gather so many good things in 2 days." "I was just lucky," Chu Yang said with a modest smile. "Enough talk, let's load up." With that, he picked up the fuller urea bag and carried it to the tricycle's cargo bed. Chu Yang secured the urea bag and the plastic bucket of crabs with rubber straps, then told Chu she to guard the house, and climbed onto the tricycle, sitting next to Sun Qingjun. Hold on tight, we're off. It wasn't far from Chu Yang's house to the dock. The tricycle took 7 or 8 minutes to get there. The two of them then huffed and puffed as they moved the goods onto Sun Qingjun's boat. Calling it a boat was generous. It was actually a 7 or 8 meter wooden sampan with a motor attached to the stern, and the key was even a fancy Z-shape, the kind that could be used as a weapon in a fight. Peppa Peep Sun Qingjun was a seasoned fisherman, and his arm muscles were no joke. He inserted the key into the ignition and furiously spun the crank, starting the motor on the first try. Then he untied the mooring line, and the motor pushed the small sampan slowly out to sea. Once the boat accelerated to about 10 knots and was cruising at a steady speed, Chu Yang sat down by the gunwale. Sun Qingjun chatted with Chu Yang while steering the motor. Yang, is it really easy to make money in the city? I heard that even people collecting trash in the city can earn tens of thousands a year. That's not true. It's the same everywhere. Those who do well make big money, but those who don't are worse off than you. Taking a boat out to sea is more carefree. If you're lucky enough to hit a school of fish, you won't have to worry for half a year. It's not that simple. Sun Qingjun shook his head. You think everyone has your luck? Besides, there are no more fish schools near the shore these days. The two chatted along the way, and soon Jueri Island became a small black dot. After a while, they saw the coastline. They arrived at the port and entered the fishery wharf area. Sun Qingjun maneuvered the sampan to an empty spot and began to dock. But before the mooring line was even tied, an administrator with a red armband appeared. Pay the berth fee. Chu Yang asked how much. 5 yuan. Well, they hadn't even made any money yet, and they'd already spent 5 yuan. Of course, this fee had to be paid. He pulled a purple 5 yuan note from his pocket and handed it to the administrator, who took the money and gave him a ticket. It showed the amount paid and the time of entry. 5 yuan covers 4 hours. It's 1:30 now. If you're still here at 5:30, you'll need to pay again, the administrator reminded. Got it. Chu Yang nodded and put the ticket away. After Sun Qingjun tied up the boat, Chu Yang moved the urea bags to the bow. Soon, a fishmonger at the dock noticed the small sampan, selling goods. A middle-aged man in a floral shirt and sunglasses, carrying a bag, stood by the bow and asked. Chu Yang nodded. Of course, who'd waste time here if not to sell? Let me take a look. He craned his neck to peer into the cabin. Sure, Chu Yang said with a smile. But I'll say up front, don't bother if you're going to lowball me. With that, he opened a corner of the urea bag for the fishmonger to see. Damn, the man's reaction was just like Sun Qingjun's, his mouth gaping like a toad. Am I seeing this right? Goose barnacles. Chu Yang smiled proudly. You're not mistaken. Can you buy these? Yes, definitely. The fishmonger pushed up his sunglasses, took out a pack of blue cap Furong Wang cigarettes from his bag, offered one to Chu Yang, and lit it for him, then asked with a fawning smile. Brother, are both these sacks full of these snails? Chu Yang took a drag and blew out a satisfying smoke ring. Indeed, these 30 yuan cigarettes tasted better than the 14 yuan ones. Comfortable. But he wasn't about to be won over by just one cigarette. They're all goose barnacles. Just tell me how much you'll pay. Brother, let me get a closer look, okay? As long as the goods are good, I won't let you down. The fishmonger started to board the boat, but Chu Yang stopped him. No rush. I'll bring them out for you to see. He took a stainless steel basin, scooped out half a basin from the urea bag, and placed it by the boat's edge. Take a look, all over 3 centimeters. You won't find this quality anywhere else. Indeed, not bad. The fishmonger grabbed a handful, looked and smelled them, almost putting them in his mouth to taste. After a long while, he said, All right, let's not beat around the bush. 45 yuan a jean, I'll take them all. Hearing the offer, Sun Qingjun was secretly astonished. At this price, Chu Yang's 2 bags of goose barnacles would sell for thousands, maybe even 10,000, equivalent to half a year's income for a fisherman. But Chu Yang didn't even bother listening to what he considered a high price. He directly snatched the goose barnacles back from his hand. Hey, brother, don't be like that. If you're not happy with the price, we can negotiate. The fishmonger said with a placating smile. No need to negotiate. Take your price elsewhere. What a joke, 45. This guy thought he was dealing with a naive fisherman and was trying to rip him off. Exactly. Old you're too shameless. How can you even say 45? At that moment, another young man in a purple polo shirt and jeans squeezed to the boat's edge and offered Chu Yang a cigarette from a pack of Huazi. Handsome, have a Huazi. Sell the goods to me. I'll pay 80. Bai Pengfei, you're full of crap. I haven't finished negotiating with the young brother yet. Don't you know the rules? The sunglasses fishmonger, furious at the unexpected interruption, cursed loudly. The young man named by Peng Fei didn't back down, glanced at the sunglasses fishmonger, and sneered. You Chuanda? I think you should change your name to you Queed, lacking virtue. You're talking nonsense in front of me. Let me tell you, I don't buy your act. If you have the ability, bid. If not, get lost. Who said first come, first served? Well said, absolutely right. Chu Yang couldn't help but give Bai Pengfei a thumbs up in his mind. Bidding is good, bidding gets you a higher price. The Chinese love for watching a spectacle is ingrained. Seeing a conflict here, a dozen or so people quickly gathered. Many at the dock were fishmongers, who initially came to watch, but upon discovering the reason for the dispute, they also became interested. Goose barnacles, a rare delicacy, could be resold for a good profit. That's right, old you, are you buying or not? If not, I'll make a move, someone egged on. Another impatient one directly said to Chu Yang, brother, I'll pay 85, sell them to me. Bullshit, who said I'm not buying? The sunglasses fishmonger, Yu Chuanda, said in exasperation. With so many peers gathered, he knew he couldn't avoid paying a premium. If it were ordinary seafood, maybe they'd give him some face. But for something as good as goose barnacles, his face wasn't worth much, and you couldn't eat it anyway. 90, I'll pay 90, Yu Chuanda announced, looking around the crowd, hoping to intimidate them. But Bai Pengfei immediately retorted, You Queed, you're really stingy, raising the price by 5 yuan at a time. After mocking Yu Chuanda, he turned to Chu Yang, first holding up one finger, then two. Handsome, 120 yuan, I'll take the lot. Then he added, 120 is already a good price. You can ask around at the dock market. Chu Yang looked at the others who had been bidding, and they were now silent, so he knew Bai Pengfei wasn't lying, and he was fairly satisfied with the price. It was more than triple what he'd get at the village dock. Of course, if he could get an even higher price, that would be even better. Boss you, Mr. Bai has offered 120. Are you still bidding? Bid my ass, damn it. Yu Chuanda glared at Bai Pengfei, then glanced at Chu Yang, and finally turned away in frustration. 120 yuan was close to his resale price, leaving little profit for him. These things only fetch a good price in the city of Gangxing. But the cross-sea trade was not something just anyone could get into. After a while, no one else made an offer. Chu Yang extended his hand to Bai Pengfei, President Bai deal. Haha, refreshing. Bai Pengfei laughed and shook his hand. After settling the price, he took out his phone and made a call. He also used a Nokia N95, of course the genuine one. After a while, a young man in rubber clothes and rain boots drove a tricycle over. He was Bai Pengfei's worker. The young man brought a scale from behind the tricycle, first put the basket on it to tear, then poured the goose barnacles from the urea bag into the basket to weigh. There were so many barnacles that one basket couldn't hold them all. They weighed 3 times in total, finally getting the total weight. 102.5 kilograms, 205 gene. It was even heavier than Chu Yang had expected. Brother Chu, 205 gene, total 24,600 yuan, count it. Bai Pengfei handed over a stack of red bills. Chu Yang took it without being polite, wetted his finger with saliva, and counted them one by one. When it comes to money, it's better to be clear face-to-face to avoid disputes later. 243, 244, 245, 246, 24,600, correct. Indeed, cash is the best. Holding these solid 200-plus big red bills in hand, Chu Yang felt extremely secure. Unlike his previous life, when he spent hundreds of thousands in a bar in one night, just a scan of the payment code, he didn't feel a thing. He put the money in a plastic bag, wrapped it up, and kept it close to his body. Chu Yang asked Bai Pengfei where the Agricultural Bank of China was. After noting down the address, he told Sun Qingjun and prepared to deposit the money. But the latter called him back. Yang, there's still this thing. He pointed to a plastic bucket by the side of the cabin. Chu Yang slapped his forehead, almost forgetting about it. He carried the bucket to Bai Pengfei. President Bai, there are a few mud crabs here. Do you want them? Bai Pengfei opened the lid and looked, his smile even brighter. Such big wild mud crabs. Brother, you really have good stuff. He paused, then said, currently, the price for mud crabs around half a gene is about 60, and for 1 gene it goes to 100. Yours are all over a gene, and they're wild. So, I'll give you 200 for all of them, okay? Deal. This time Chu Yang didn't hesitate. The price he offered wasn't low. 4 mud crabs, the largest nearly 2 gene. The other 3 also over a gene, totaling 5 gene 7 liang, which came to 1,140 yuan. Bai Pengfei directly counted out another 12 red bills and gave them to Chu Yang. Brother, leave me your phone number. Next time you have good stuff, remember to find me. Chu Yang didn't refuse. He was in need of a strong buyer like Bai Pengfei. After they exchanged numbers, Chu Yang made sure he hadn't missed anything, then climbed up to the dock. He found the agricultural bank branch, deposited 22,000 yuan, and kept 3,800 yuan in cash on him. Chu Yang checked his card balance. 50,253.18. Not bad. His predecessor had left him 28,000 in savings. In this day and age, a young person with 50,000 in savings is doing pretty well. In another 10+ years, most young people wouldn't be this well off. Many would owe banks and online loans tens of thousands. He hid the card and money, walked out of the bank, and stood by the roadside waiting for a ride. But suddenly, a red and black motorcycle screeched to a stop in front of him. Handsome, where to? Chu Yang looked up at the sound and saw this scene. The rider, wearing slippers, stood with one foot on the ground, his open shirt fluttering in the wind, one hand on the handlebar. The other elbow resting on the fuel tank, painted with the DAYUN pattern. Chu Yang couldn't help but laugh. What a dashing motorcycle taxi driver. With that motorcycle, he looked even more impressive. Before his rebirth, Chu Yang had been a fan for a while. He liked watching Hong Kong films and was crazy about the heroines, especially Zhang Buoji in The King of Comedy. So he had a deep memory of the Dayun motorcycle she endorsed. Especially before the weather forecast every night. That classic line, speeding across the world, Dayun motorcycle, was never tiring to hear. Wishing everyone good luck? Haha, cool. Chu Yang praised. The motorcycle taxi driver, hearing someone compliment him, was instantly excited. I knew you, being so handsome. Must have good taste, but don't think that complimenting me will get you a free ride. At most, I'll give you a 20% discount. Hurry up, get on. Sitting on the back seat of the Dayun motorcycle, neither of them wore helmets. In those days, no one cared. You couldn't even see a traffic cop on the road. But I heard from this motorcycle taxi driver that since New Year's Day this year, Huadu had completely banned motorcycles, and he had come from there. No wonder he kept saying, handsome. Brother, you look good. And you speak well, so you must be doing well, right? Chu Yang teased loudly. He had to, because the wind was strong on the back of the motorcycle. If he didn't speak loudly, he couldn't be heard. Just SOSO, 3 to 5,000 a month, just getting by, the motorcycle taxi driver replied boastfully. Indeed, in 2007, Chuanzhou was a relatively developed city, with an average monthly wage of around 1,500 to 1,600 for workers, earning 3 to 5,000 a month. He was indeed in the high-income group. This situation is quite normal among clothing, food, housing, and transportation. Transportation, though listed last, is still one of the 4 basic needs. A few years earlier, many glamorous flight attendants in big cities married taxi drivers. And more than 10 years later, plenty of people still made a living driving for ride-hailing services. After chatting for a while, the motorcycle taxi driver rode very fast. Chu Yang felt that as soon as he opened his mouth, the wind would rush in, so he simply shut up. After about 10 minutes, the motorcycle finally stopped in front of a square building. Here we are, handsome. Chu Yang looked up and saw the dark blue sign of Dehuai Plaza. This was the most luxurious shopping mall in Shishir at the time, opened in 2005. 8 stories high, covering 50 mu, with a building area of 139,000 square meters, adjacent to the city government. Even 10 years later, it would still be one of Chuanzhou's most bustling large commercial complexes. Chu Yang came here, of course, to shop. How much is the fare? After getting off, Chu Yang asked. Originally 20 yuan, but since you're so handsome, just 15. The motorcycle taxi driver smoothed his bangs that had been blown up by the wind and replied. Chu Yang thought for a moment, then took out a 50 yuan bill from his pocket. I'm going in to buy something. I'll be out in a bit. Can you wait for me and then take me to a few more places? The motorcycle taxi driver glanced at Chu Yang in slight surprise, took the bill, and rubbed it with his fingers. After confirming it wasn't counterfeit, he put it away and said with a smile, I get it. You mean chartering the car, right? No problem. Go ahead. Handsome. I'll wait for you at the door. Walking into Dehuai Plaza, Chu Yang headed straight for the clothing section. In his previous life, as a second-generation rich kid, he had high standards for quality of life. It didn't have to be name brands, but it had to be comfortable to wear. In the men's clothing area, Chu Yang saw many familiar brands: Kaizi, Kingbox, Younger, HLA. Finally, he walked into the man's wardrobe, HLA, and picked out 2 sets of the most popular polo shirts with jeans, the same style as Lu Tao's in Struggle. He also grabbed a leather jacket. During this time, there was no cliché story of being looked down upon by a salesperson and then showing off to slap their face. After all, it was a high-end mall. These salespeople were at least high school graduates and had some quality. Although a bit impatient, they hit it well. When Chu Yang came out of the fitting room in his new clothes, Several young saleswomen's eyes lit up. Wow, look, there's a handsome guy. It's true that clothes make the man. With that change of clothes, he looks like a TV star. I think he looks like Tong Dawei. More like Zhu Yuchen. Both were actors in this year's hottest TV series, one playing the lead Lu Tao, the other playing the third male lead Hua Zi. Chu Yang didn't hear their discussion, otherwise, he would have disagreed. It was obviously Louis Koo. He looked at himself in the mirror. Actually, this body had a good foundation. At 182 centimeters, though a bit thin and dark, his facial features were good, described in novel terms as sword eyebrows and starry eyes. Moreover, what's wrong with being dark? That's called bronze skin, a man's sexiness. Did a man have to pursue fair skin and a soft body? That's not like the male prostitutes in ancient brothels. He went to the cashier to pay. 2 polo shirts and 1 leather jacket totaled 1,688 yuan. He asked the cashier's sister for a discount, rounding off the odd amount, and counted out 16 red bills to hand to her. Sir, do you want me to pack up the clothes you changed out of? The saleswoman chased after him and asked. Chu Yang waved his hand. No need, just throw them away. With that, he turned and left. What a pity, I wanted to ask for his number. The 34C salesgirl clicked her tongue. Ooh, someone's got a fever, and I know who it is, but I'm not saying. Someone nearby teased. You're the one with a fever, your whole family has a fever. The group of lively girls immediately burst into a playful commotion. Meanwhile, Chu Yang wasn't idle either. He went to the Samir store and bought a few pure cotton long-sleeve shirts, and then went to the children's section to buy 2 outfits and a dress for Chu Shi. Passing by KFC, he stopped and went in to buy a family bucket. So when he returned to the motorcycle taxi driver's side, carrying a big bucket and with shopping bags hanging from his arm, the driver was startled. Wow, handsome, with these clothes on. I didn't even recognize you. Why did you buy so much stuff? What kind of talk is that? It makes it sound like I was some exhibitionist before. Hurry up, I need to get on. The motorcycle taxi driver straddled his Dayun motorcycle, straightened the bike with both feet, and buttoned up 2 buttons on his open floral shirt, then fiddled with his side-swept bangs. Clearly, facing Chu Yang's sudden surge in good looks, he felt the pressure. He patted the seat behind him and said, Get on. Back at the dock, it was already past 5 o'clock. The motorcycle taxi driver helped Chu Yang carry his things onto the boat, then left. Before leaving, he left a business card with his name and phone number. Zhang Hong Tao, phone, 134 asterisk 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 asterisk. Clearly, he regarded Chu Yang as a potential long-term big client. Sit tight, Yang, I'm starting the boat. Sun Qingjun reminded him, then took out the boat key and started vigorously pulling the motor. Peep peppa peppa peep. The sampan boat left the harbor amid the motor's sound and returned to Zhuri Island. Hey, big brother, from far away on the boat. Chu Yang saw Chu Shi waving at him from the dock. Didn't I tell you to stay home? Why did you come here? I checked the time and thought you and Uncle Qingjun should be arriving, so I came to pick you up. Chu Shi lowered her head and replied timidly. Only then did Chu Yang realize his sister was worried about him. He gently rubbed her head and praised with a smile. Good girl. Look what big brother brought you. With that, he handed her the KFC bucket. Wow, it smells so good. Did you buy this for me? Chu Shi was almost drooling with craving. Indeed, no neighbor kid can resist the charm of fried chicken. Yeah, we'll make do with this for dinner. No need to cook. Chu Yang turned around to settle the fare with Sun Qingjun, counting out 2 100 yuan bills. Uncle Qingjun, thanks for your hard work today. Sun Qingjun didn't reach out and frowned, saying, We agreed on 100 yuan for half a day. Why are you giving me so much? Take it back, take it back. Chu Yang smiled and forcefully stuffed the money into his pants pocket. Uncle Qingjun, it's just 100 yuan, don't argue with me. Besides, without you making this trip, I wouldn't have sold it at that price, right? Still, we had an agreement. Sun Qingjun tried to decline again. Chu Yang hated this kind of back and forth, so he pretended to be angry and said, Are you not giving me face? Does that mean you won't help me in the future if I need you? Only then did Sun Qingjun reluctantly put the money away, patting his chest and saying, What are you saying? If you need anything in the future, just come to me. That's more like it. Chu Yang handed him a soft-pack cigarette and added, One more thing, Uncle Qingjun, if anyone asks what I sold at the dock and how much I got. Sun Qingjun thought for a moment and understood Chu Yang's implication. Don't worry, over 100 jin of spicy snails, sold for 7 or 800 yuan. Chu Yang was satisfied and lit the cigarette for him. You're reliable, uncle. I'll be going now.